Okay, we're live now, Chairman.
Okay, thanks very much, Jane. Good evening, everybody. My name is Graham Moore. I'm the chair of this committee. Welcome to Colne area for January 2021. And I suspect, like everybody else, my fingers are crossed that 21 will be better than 20, but we remains to be seen. Do I have any apologies, please?
Chairman, I just have one from Mary Thomas from Colne Town Council.
Okay. Okay, we're a few short on our normal number, so I'm expecting probably some late joiners. So first of all, on my behalf, may I wish you all a very happy New Year. Let's hope it's a good one. Any declarations of interest? No. Okay. Minutes of the last meeting. Someone propose?
Sorry, Chairman. You've public question time first.
Public question time.
Although the person we had, I'm not sure has arrived, so just let me check.
Okay. I've only got four other people on the.
You can move on.
I'll push on. If he turns up, I'll give him the opportunity, providing it's reasonable. He doesn't turn up at 8 o'clock or something. Okay. So the minutes of the last meeting. Somebody.
I'll move them, Chair.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Second them. So anybody against?
Councillor Fletcher.
Thank you. Anybody against, please speak now. No? Okay, so I take those as being passed. Next up is the progress report. Anybody wish to make a comment, question? Nothing. Sorry, I heard somebody speak then. Whoever it is, you're broken. I can't understand. Can anybody else understand what's being said?
Chairman, I think it's background noise if somebody's not got the microphone on.
Okay. I'll move on then. Nobody else on progress report? Community safety issues and the police. Do we have a representative from the police, Jane?
Sorry, Chairman, no. We were told somebody would be here, but nobody's joined the meeting.
Okay, so what I'll do then is I'll skip that one if I may for the time being. We'll go into planning and see if the police turn up slightly later rather than go back and have to go over it again. Is everybody happy with that?
Graham?
Yeah.
Shall I call Dave, because he was at the last meeting at 5:30 and he said he was coming to this one at the one at 7?
Please do.
Okay.
Please do. Yeah, that'd be great. Okay. Are you happy for me to continue, Sarah, while you're doing that?
No problem. I will keep listening.
Yeah, please do.
Just trying to help.
So we're on to planning then, councillors. I think you've all will have had an update. So the situation with the first one, which is 0917, is there's more information has arrived, but the query from the Environment Agency, their objection has not been withdrawn because they don't have enough information. Now, Mr. Watson would be happy for you to delegate consent to him, if that's your mind, or it might be sensible to defer it because we're still waiting for information. It's entirely up to you. Shall I suggest from the chair deferral? Is anybody against deferral or would like to determine it tonight?
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
I was sorry. I was having problems getting in, so I'm a bit late. Has anybody given apologies from Councillor Lord?
No.
Oh, she's in the middle of changing her iPad, I think. and she said it might not be set up yet in time to come to this meeting. So
Okay.
give her apologies. Okay. What are we discussing now, Chair?
Right. Okay. So I'll repeat what I said.
Sorry.
So we're on to planning now. We've skipped police issue. We've skipped the police issues for the time being because David has not turned up yet. So we will come back to that. So we're now on to planning. You should have had an update from the planning department today. So the first one is the first application, which is 0917. So there is more information about the scheme that came in that update, but the Environment Agency objection is still live. They've not dismissed that. So Mr. Watson is of the view that if we chose, we could delegate to grant consent to him, depending on what he said, or we could defer it, waiting for more information. I've suggested from the chair that we defer it.
I agree with that, Chair. I agree with you.
Everybody happy with that? Please speak if you're against. Okay, so we will defer that again for another month, and hopefully that they will have supplied enough information. Is that okay, Mr. Watson?
So I'm unmuting, Chairman. Yes, fine with that. I don't think it's really moved us on any further than last time when committee wanted to consider the whole amount. So I don't think the additional information is insurmountable. It's about some technical matters about flood storage capacity. So hopefully they will be able to resolve that for next time.
Okay, thank you. Jane, has any of the speakers for 493 logged on or not?
No, Chairman, they haven't.
So that's fine then. So
Hello, I was listening. I spoke to Dave and he's trying to come to the meeting, but he can't find the link. I only have his email address on my ordinary email account. Could you, Jane, send him the link again? He's ready to join if he gets the link.
Yes, I'll get Joanne to do that. Just bear with us. She's sorting Dorothy out at the same time.
Oh dear.
Okay.
Thank you.
okay. So we'll continue where we were. So 0493, they have provided some detailed plans today, which nobody has had a chance to properly look at. So therefore, again, from the chair, I'm going to suggest we defer this for a further month for the more detailed plans to be circulated, and then we can have a proper discussion about it in a month's time. And the people that wish to speak, of which there were 6, would then have the opportunity of putting their views then. Is anybody against that view? Okay, so I'm assuming that's unanimous then, that we defer 0493 pending the fuller plans being available. Thank you. So the last one, which is 0698, I have one speaker, Claire Bradley. Is Claire Bradley on, Jane?
Yes, I'm here.
Hi, good evening to you.
Good evening.
You have the floor.
Thank you. My name's Claire Bradley from Kirkwell's Planning Consultants. I'm speaking tonight on behalf of an objector that lives in the vicinity. In terms of this development, the houses are built on this site in this location. It has a massive impact on the character of the area. If you look at the site layout, well, if any of you have actually visited the site, you'll see that there's a lovely stone wall that runs right the way along Skipton Old Road. Now, to achieve the visibility displays, that wall will have to be completely and utterly removed. Not only that, the land is actually very, very steep. So you've got the 4 elephants at the bottom, and as you look up, you can see the site on Skipton Old Road. And it's to actually achieve the access, it would be a very steep access out onto Skipton Old Road. And in addition, if you've driven along Skipton Old Road, due to the parked cars that are along the whole length of it, it's an absolute nightmare to travel along in a car. There's no pedestrian facilities. It's single track for most of the way due to the parked cars, so you're constantly waiting for cars to come past. And and the Highway Authority have objected to this application on the grounds of it's not a sustainable location. But the case officer has recommended it for approval. Now, in terms of this development, the site policy EMV1 expects an application to safeguard or make a positive contribution to the protection, enhancement, conservation and interpretation of our natural historic environments. Now, given the fact that you're removing a huge length of a dry stone wall in a rural location, and the difference in levels, it will not safeguard or make a positive contribution to the landscape character of the area. And so it's clearly contrary to policy EMV1. And again, EMV2 expects proposals to contribute to make a positive contribution to the historic environment and local identity and character. And again, the removal of the wall and the impact on the landscape character will have a detrimental impact on the historic environment and local identity and character of the area. So in my view, the development of this site would have a detrimental impact on the rural character, which is contrary to policies SDP1, SDP2, LIV1, EMV1 and EMV2 of the Pendle Local Planned Core Strategy. And I mean, if the councillors haven't been out and seen the site, I would suggest that I think it's crucial to the decision on this site that go out and have a look at it. And thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'll just chip in, which I don't normally do from the chair. I leave the council to kick things off, but as I'm the ward councillor, I will chip in. I think the effects of this proposal in that location, to my view and the view of the residents of Fulridge, is that it's not satisfactory, basically. So I'll leave you with that and see what you have to say. Councillors?
Chairman?
Yeah.
Sorry, it's Neil. Could I just give a slight bit of guidance on this, if I may? In the absence, really, I think, and Claire may agree with me on this, in the absence of really satisfactory guidance from government on how the PIT process actually works. So we're not flailing around, but issues such as landscape character, impact on settlement, general location can be taken into account in the PIT process. We had the appeal at Carry Lane, and I'll see if I can share this with you. It may not be the right one. No, it's the wrong one. Sorry, Chairman. I'll remove that. I did have the appeal at Carry Lane, which showed you can look at these issues of general character, etc. What you can't do is look at things like removal of the wall, because we don't know. That's for technical detail stage. We're only allowed, according to the regulations, to look at, sorry, Claire, you're shaking your head, but this is the situation. Location, land use, and amount. That's what you're limited towards looking at. The rest, you can refuse later technical details. Say, for example, the wall went and you thought that was unacceptable in terms of the character of the area, you can do that, but we don't know that the wall's going to go yet because we haven't had those details. So yes, by all means, look at the impact generally, the location to the settlement, whether it's going to stick out like a sore thumb in your view, etc. Those are issues which are legitimate in terms of location, whether it's sustainable. But Chairman, the details, we haven't to assume that anything will happen on that site, because they may come up with a technical solution that doesn't require the wall being removed. I think it will, but it's premature at this stage, Chairman. So it's location, is a land use acceptable, and the amount, which is 3 dwellings on the site. So effectively, is it going to look right in the environment, and is it right in the context of the development extension, shall we say, of the settlement?
The other thing I understand, Neil, as well, from the document, is that if tonight we were to say, well, okay, yeah, we don't mind some building on that land, so we'll say yes. Once you've given that, when we then see the more detailed plan, if we really don't like it, we are very much hamstrung with what we can do. We can't take away the initial permission for development. Is that correct?
That's correct, Chairman. I mean, I'm not a fan of PIPs, but it's exactly what the government wants to avoid, that you get into the detail now. And that's specifically why PIPs have been introduced, so that you don't look at these details now, rightly or wrongly, and we all have our own views on that. But yes, once it is approved, then clearly you have approved that the land use is acceptable, and the development will flow from there.
Okay. So Sarah Coburn-Price wishes to speak, and then Margaret and Paul Foxley.
I'm sure lots of councillors will know where this is, and it is exceptionally highly prominent in the landscape. And so therefore, I think it would make a detrimental impact on the landscape. But actually, reading the officer's report, the thing that bothered me the most about it really is the sort of sustainability pedestrian access. You know, this they're saying, well, there's no pavement on the road. OK, fair enough, quite common in Pendle rural roads. But then it says that there was a noticeable gradient on the unlit, unmade surface, and then a steep flight of steps leading into a car park. The route would be unsuitable for prams, those with limited mobility, and may not be considered a usable route, particularly during periods of darkness or inclement weather. I mean, it sounds a bit of a nightmare. The people who live there would have to wear head torches. So pending the idea that, you know, we all go for a site visit, which perhaps might have the officers saying that we can't do that. I don't know. We're in a lockdown. I'm very interested to hear what the other councillors have to say. But I feel, you know, in a rural location, such a prominent on a hill development is to be avoided.
Is it Paul or Margaret? Whoever's hand up, please.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I just wanted to come back and ask Neil Watson a question regarding the planning in principle, and that is just to clarify what we're saying. I think, and my understanding of this is that it's perfectly possible for a permission in a planning in principle permit approval to be granted for something which proves to be undeliverable. Am I right in saying that? Because what I mean, where I'm coming from is, if the access, say, is only achievable by the removal of that wall, but this council considers the removal of that wall to be contrary to policy in relation to the setting and the location, I accept what you're saying. We can't. My understanding is we can't consider that now because it's a planning in principle, and that's not one of the issues that we can consider. But does that not mean that it's perfectly possible for a consent of this type to be granted that is undeliverable? I just want to clarify that, because it's obviously, this is all a bit of a new thing, this planning in principle, permission in principle.
Chairman, yes. In effect, you could have a development that you say in principle the location's okay, it wouldn't harm the environment it sits in, but then you may have highway issues which are insurmountable, you may have drainage issues which are insurmountable, stability issues. So yes, you may get occasions where you would have a development which you would refuse at the technical matter stage. which is, but the idea I think behind this is that you get a permission in principle, therefore developers were willing to expend the additional capital to put the technical matters in place. But Councillor Fox is absolutely right, you could end up in that scenario.
I mean, the other thing I would comment on Councillor Coburn Price's remarks, when you come along that road, that is probably the first bit of open land to your right hand side, which looks up the hill, with some development on the other side of Skipton Road. I think it's the Rock and the house next is in quite a prominent position. If you've then got buildings on this side, it will look fairly crowded to my eye, and that is the start of the divide between the buildings at Salterford and the village of Fulridge. You know, the idea, in my view, of the planning is to try and keep some separation rather than just be a huge conurbation of buildings from Colne right the way through to Earby and Barnoldswick. I thought that's what we were trying to do, and I think this flies in the face of that himself. But would anybody like to say anything else or put a proposal on the table, please?
I'm happy to put a proposal on the table that we reject this, owing to visibility in the landscape, owing to sustainability of access.
Okay. No conflicts with those two reasons, Mr. Watson?
Chairman, I think they're perfectly defendable, they're perfectly sound reasons, and I would not expect costs awarded in those because I think they're legitimate concerns. So yes, I'd be happy for us to defend those.
Okay. Would somebody like to second that?
I'll second that. Yeah.
Okay, so we have a proposal and a second for refusal on the grounds as stated. Would all those anybody that does not agree with that, in other words, is not in favour, would you please let me know? You can either speak or raise your hand and I will go to you. I've heard nothing, so I'm therefore going to state that that was a unanimous decision. Are we happy with that? Yeah, Jane, are you happy with that?
Yes, that's fine. Thank you, Chairman. Could I just say that the police are now in attendance?
Okay, thank you very much. So I will leave at planning appeals. We'll come back to planning appeals, councillors. So working back on the menu, we will go back to police matters. Good evening, David. Are you on? Can you hear me?
Loud and clear, yes, thank you.
Yes, welcome. You have the floor if you have any report to make before we start asking you questions.
Ask me questions, please.
Okay. Well, I'll kick off from the chair. I was copied in on a variety of correspondence regarding gangs of youths in Colne that are intimidating people, basically. I'll keep it as vague as that, if I may. Perhaps you could brief us on where you think you are with that, whether it is a problem, is there anything we can do to assist you? Because I see that as quite a serious problem.
It's a serious problem. It's the youths at present, they are using snowballs, ice to throw at cars and causing nuisance that way. Myself and my colleague Leanne, we've rounded up 5 over the weekend, just gone. All right, well,
yeah.
And we've taken them home. One of them caused damage to a car. We're currently trying to get that resolved with payment to the aggrieved in that matter. I am getting a lot of calls on my work's mobile. I've had one from myself and we're in a plane car tonight, and we pulled up in front of them. They didn't know it was the police. It's a Nelson car, and they had snowballs in their hands, but they must recognise him. The the car from Nelson because they just ran off when they saw us when we stopped, threw the snowball down. So it's difficult catching them. We don't have the resources to pincer movement them, if you will.
Okay, thank you very much for that. That's reassuring to know that you're doing what you can anyway.
Yeah, really difficult, and I appreciate your support, but it is frustrating for us as it is everybody else who's been targeted and always having snowballs thrown at their houses or cars.
I'm not a Colne Town Councillor. There are some on the committee who might be able to help here. The CCTV arrangements in Colne, are any of them of any help in this? Anybody?
The CCTVs generally on the town centre and on North Molly. We're not getting targeted as much there, but we have got plans to put CCTV on St George's playing field, which is where a lot of the offences are taking place. So if we can fine tune that, so we can, if we are having problems, if it's a particular area, we could probably zoom in for a period and then hopefully identify the offenders.
Can't hear you, Graham.
No, I'm sorry. There's awful background noise from somewhere there. Yeah. So, Councillor Fox, Liz.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask you, Dave. I saw in your email that you'd taken some of these snowballing youths home to their parents, and I sort of gleaned from the email that was quite successful. Were the parents glad to sort of work with you, and is there any sort of progress being made there?
Yeah, that's what I spoke about earlier. Surprisingly, the lads who were caught, they didn't come from the Oak Street area or the Varley Street, anything like that. They were from Castle Road, Manor Road.
That's right, yeah.
Out of the area. So the parents were relatively supportive. They have been threatened, not threatened, it's not a word, but the one option for us is to give a fine to the parents for the COVID breaches. But having spoke to Sarah and yourself, we're obviously considering the restorative justice route with the 5 that we know of. We've got addresses. There's any more that we catch.
Right, okay, thank you. Well, keep me posted on that, please, Dave.
Yeah, most certainly, thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Butterworth, Neil.
Good evening. Happy New Year, Dave. My thing is drugs. It's a bane in my life as it is everybody else's. I flew in my sister on Friday, and for the loving me, there were 2 or 3 people just behind the other church thing, just behind as you go in, smoking dope and things like that. And I'm obviously upsetting things, and so I just bit my tongue. But I am getting really, really peeved, really stressed and angry now. For 16 years as a councillor, I've mentioned drugs on every time the police has appeared on screen or at the meeting. I understand everything you're going to say to me about manpower and about situations like that. But other than give you names and addresses and photographs of them, I can't do no more. They are the ones behind the library have gone now. They're not, because of the building work. They don't turn up there anymore. The ones under the arch on Friday from 5 o'clock till 9 o'clock, they go to Pacific. They don't come anymore because the pub's shut. They used to run across from the pub, get the drugs, go in the pub, go in the toilet, take the drugs. I could video them for you all day long. But the one that's more prevalent now is that little church in the graveyard. They are there every time I go. And I go 2 or 3 times a week. And they are there. I've got different times. Just whenever the mood takes me. The only time they haven't been there was last night, this morning at 3:30 when I felt the need to go and see my sister. They weren't there then, but every time I go, they're there. And I really, really, really like somebody to just get hold of them, because it's getting so annoying now that I am tempted, and I won't, because I know you and you're my friend as well as a Bobby. I will never take anything like that into my hands. That's your job. However, at this stage in my life where I'm a bit upset and these people are disrespectful, and I ask them nicely, here's a favour, don't do that here, disrespectful. Some of them like, well, nod their head and off they go. Some of them like, say different words I can't repeat on here. But it's getting really, really stressful and really, really so deliberate, and you're there all the time, other than me putting your hat on and handcuffing them, I can't do no more. So I'd like you to really, really do what I should never do, kick arse, because I'm getting really fed up. I apologise for me talking like that, Dave, and you're my friend as well as Bobby. But we need to do something. We really do. Thanks for my rant. Thank you.
Okay.
Neil.
Yeah.
Happy New Year to yourself. I really appreciate your input there. I understand what you've gone through in the past and recently as well. You've got my personal mobile number, Neil. If it's happening, whether I'm on duty or not, give me a ring and I will go around and I will sort them out. Trust me, I will do that. I need somebody to tell me that. It has been a problem in the past.
I understand.
And when I sorted it out, we went round that same night on the same kind of forum. We sorted it out and I spoke to them, and I can tell you the people who were doing it then, they won't do it now.
What was it there? Sorry to interrupt you, Dave. Was it when I told you went round? Was you there?
There were people there, yeah. We do periodically go around there, but I must say it's not on the patrol plan. But I will put it on the patrol plan. But that's only in the evening. That if you're there at 10 o'clock at night, don't ring me at 3:30 in the morning, Neil, please. I'll still be drunk.
Dave, now there's a little incentive for me.
Okay.
Ring me up and we'll sort it out. I promise you.
Okay, Dave, thank you.
Thanks very much for that. I've still got Margaret and Paul's hand up. Did you want to come back at all?
Yeah, I'd just like to repeat, I keep saying this about the cemetery. There is a person, family, I don't know what they consist of, who live in the lodge, whose job it is to make sure that the gates are shut and the cemetery, and that the cemetery is patrolled. They have a reduced rent for this. We've looked into this time and time again, and I'm with Neil all the way on this. This is a place that should be respected. People need to go there for whatever reason, and they should be able to go to a place where they can be quiet and they're not going to be agitated by anyone or anything. And I really am fed up with the fact that these people that live in the lodge are not doing their job. Those gates are open all the time. I've never seen anybody, the people from the lodge, the people that lived in the lodge previously were brilliant. They patrolled with a torch to make sure that they could lock the gates, and the gates were locked at the right time, and they really did their job very, very well. It's not always down to the police. There is somebody there who should be doing that job and should be patrolling. And things like this, Neil's talking about, it just shouldn't be happening. And it needs nipping in the bud, because it really is taking the mick. Thank you.
Margaret, for the benefits, when you looked into this before, did you make any progress with who the manager responsible was? Did you ask for him to contact them?
Yeah, there was a response. I think it was Philip Moosdale who responded and dealt with it. And we were told that, yes, the gates would be locked, that the people living in the lodge would basically do their job. And nothing's changed. Absolutely nothing.
I think, I might be incorrect, but I seem to think that Philip's response was that only one of the gates was supposed to be locked. But frankly, whether it's supposed to be one or both, neither of those things happens.
Well, they always used to both.
They used to lock them both, and obviously that makes a big difference because it means that the cemetery is not accessible at night, full stop. Whereas if you only lock one gate, it just stops people driving in, which is a completely different thing altogether and doesn't stop antisocial behaviour. So, you know, I'm with Neil on this. I think it's pretty awful, and I do think it needs sorting out. And if the people in the lodge aren't doing what they're supposed to do, I think Pendle Council needs to sort that out. And even if they are doing what they have been required to do, and it's not enough, we need to sort that out. We need to do something to change the situation.
Do you have a view as to when the gates should be shut and what times they should be shut from and to? Who makes that decision?
There's a notice on the gates. It varies. Winter time, the gates are closed earlier. In the summer, the gates are supposed to be closed at 9 o'clock, I think. That used to happen on a regular basis every night. It just doesn't happen at all now. And people are just using the cemetery just as they please. It is not a playground. It's not a place to go and just kick off. It is a place that should be treated with respect.
So what's with this commission? Is it that the gates, both gates should be locked? I'll come to you in a minute. Is it your view that both gates should be locked according
yes,
to time?
definitely.
They always used to be.
Yeah.
Yes.
Everybody's view. Does anybody disagree with that? Neil?
Chairman, there's a couple of things. Yes, I agree the gates should be locked. But you can get into the cemetery from the bottom. You can't stop anybody doing that. So if somebody will take me, for instance, I don't sleep very well anyway, but if I wanted to, you know, have reflection, if you want, at 3:30 in the morning, I could go around the bottom and that's fine. When the gates are locked, last week I looked at the cemetery and this is what it were. It was a sledding place. It was a dog toilet. There was no respect whatsoever. However, the younger generation and the people that do drugs just don't care. So what we need, like we do with these snowballers, we need a firm hand and a big stick. People laugh at me sometimes when they say, oh, you should do this. But I'll tell you now, people, if you talk their language, they listen. If you talk our language, they won't listen. So I know about this, I know about we should look after the kids and all that. But at the end of the day, you know, if you're saying don't do this to somebody and they're saying other things to you, then you need a firm hand. And I'm afraid us as councillors and the police are I don't know, are soft. And we get nowhere because we're soft. 16 years I've been at this. 16 years, not just because my missus passed away. Before then, I have friends down there. And it's been a dog toilet, a sledding place, a place where you go and young couples go. And it's horrendous. So, big stick, firm hand. You know what I mean? That verbally, not literally. Yeah. But yeah, to lock the gates, people going to smoke dope behind that building, won't walk all the way around to get up the hill to do that, so they'll find something else. The dog walkers that walk up and find the gate locked, they will go the other way. They'll do something else. When them gates are locked, it is a deterrent, and it might not be a deterrent in the instant as such, because people will climb over the things. You know, a gate's no good unless it's manned, because you climb over it. But after a while, it will work, and we'll never find out if it works unless we do it. Thank you.
And what I'm going to suggest then that we ask Jane or whoever's can manage to pick it up in the office for us to send an email to Philip or a letter, whichever you think is more appropriate, saying that this committee requests that those gates are kept locked according to the times that are posted on them. and it is the responsibility of the people that live in that house to do it, and see if he will then move on that. Unless anybody else has got anything else to say on that or any other comments. Are you happy to do that? So we get that bit done anyway, if nothing else. I'm not expecting that to be successful. I'm expecting in 2 months' time for us to be whinging that nothing's happened, to be perfectly honest. But at least it's a start. It knows, he will know then the views of this committee. Anybody else got anything else for David? Sarah?
I've got a little bit on the agenda, and I'd be really grateful if it could be made a standing item, because this is going to run and run. I've been listening to the conversation, and poor Margaret's heard this 3 times over in the last 24 hours, and she's going to have to listen to it again so she can go and make herself a cup of tea. She could, I don't know.
I want to hear about Mrs. Duffel.
Mrs. Duffel, absolutely.
So, sorry, Sarah, before you get in your stride, has David heard this already?
Dave heard this in the earlier meeting, but I would like him to stay around just for the little bit of the beginning, because it's his working.
David.
Yeah, he has heard some good news, and he's going to hear more good news tomorrow. I'm just waiting for the email from LCC. So essentially, I told you last time about the Colne Youth Action Group, and at that stage, when I spoke to you last, we'd applied to become a charity, and we'd been fast-tracked through, and it was a charitable foundation. And I was already working with Burnley FC in the community, and I was already working with the police, and they very kindly brought their tuck shop money to my house as to start our little cash pile. Colne Bid awarded us £10,000 for the next 3 years. Chawden Parish Council awarded us £5,000 this year, with an expectation of more next. I've got a Zoom call with Folridge, hoping for several thousand there. Margaret is leaning on Laneshire Bridge. We have an application to Colne FES for outdoor floodlighting, and I'll come to that in a second. But the critical thing is working with LCC. So initially it was, if you remember from the Burnley FC, that we try to get this building that had been surplus to requirements on Byron Road. Now, since then, yesterday, I took a call in my mother's thick wall cottage from this lady called Debbie Duffel. And I couldn't hear her in my mother's cottage, so Margaret's laughing because I had to go out into the cold and stand in my yard for an hour. And all the time I was thinking, she's called Duffel, I wish I was wearing one. So I was just really cold. But it's all been very fortuitous. I gave her, and she already knew, the backstory, all the letters of support, including from Pendle Council, from all kinds of people, the police, etc. And she said this couldn't be more fortuitous, because all the youth services were cut by LCC in 2017. And she said they've finally realised it was a disaster, and they've learnt the error of their ways. So they developed a new structure for youth services, and they've put cash in the bank and resources. So, but they've got really experienced youth workers ready to go to hit the ground right across Lancashire. But what they found is, because they stopped doing everything over 3 years ago, they've lost the community connections. They don't know who the troublesome children are. They don't know who to speak to at the schools. They've lost it. And at just that moment, and it was just luck, my letter crossed this lady's desk, and we had all the support from all of these people, the police neighbourhood team, the schools, the businesses, etc. So she is starting with Colne. It's just luck. So they were supposed to write to me this afternoon, straight away, starting now, with an offer where they will work with the police neighbourhood team and offer time to go out as a mobile detachment onto the streets. And they will be targeting those most troublesome children. And separately, they've got a service level agreement with Burnley FC and with me. They've invited me into this to discuss opening this youth hub, and I've been told it is a matter of high political priority that this happens, because there's a chap at Burnley FC called Lee Adams, and it's his actual job to open this youth hub in Colne. So there is the expectation that surplus to requirements has gone away. So tomorrow I speak to the lady in facilities management with the expectation that surplus to requirements has gone away, and we see what we can do about the building. Separately to that, speaking to the partners, Colne FC, Burnley FC, the schools, we've agreed that what we need to do is use this lockdown time to deal with the people who are bored. So that's separate from the people who are causing trouble for the police particularly, but they're sort of like wheeling around on their bicycles in the dark. So dealing with them, we've got to offer something right across Colne and the villages. And looking at that, that is the bid to Colne Town Council for these floodlights, because then we can put on, we already have actual professional volunteers and professionals who are paid, and they will put on activities across Colne. So, you know, we could put something on at Alkincoats, King George V playing field, Trawden Rec, and different places have offered these mobile sort of bases for us to put activities on. So the idea is that whatever happens with the building, as soon as the nights are light, we can hit the ground running with that. And I hope that that's a quick resume, and I'll happily answer any questions.
Neil. You're on mute still.
I apologise. Is Dave still here? Dave Cleo?
Yeah, he's still here, yeah.
Yeah. Dave, can I ask you a quick question? Did you had a project going where we put money into it below Pendle? Yeah. Did that work?
In my opinion, that worked fantastically. Antisocial behaviour dropped massively in the areas affected. We built massive bridges and relationships with the youth of Colne, which is what has been lacking. There's no youth facilities. When the youth facilities were open on Byron Road, I used to go in every now and then and just have a catch up with kids, and they'd all come and talk. And it's all about building them relationships, isn't it? In my opinion, it did. As far as I'm concerned, it worked, and it would work again this year, last year, next year. If we, I know that I've got your support to do things, you know, so it would work. It is sustainable with other people's support, but this is a longer term, bigger project, obviously, that Sarah's talking about, and I fully believe in it.
Well, thanks, Dave. And because of your comment just now, I'll support you any way I can. And with the collaboration of everybody, I think we'll never solve it, because young people are young people, but we can definitely reduce it. So, yeah, fair play to everybody. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Sarah. That really is heartening. There's not much good news around these days, but that is a good news story. I just hope it works. Just so you know, I'm sure you've got an eye on it. We still have a little bit of money left. So if there is anything that we can do to help of a capital nature, because I think that's been spent on capital.
With Lynn's guidance, I spoke to one of the accountants at Pendle Borough Council, and so in the first instance, what I'm going to do, and I've warned Neil and I've warned Jonathan, I'm going to come for their personal councillor pots, just a small amount of money to help us with web hosting and our website and social media outreach, so that we're ready in February with all of that, and that's professionally done rather than me doing a poor job. So I'm going to come to them, but really I want to move further with the building before I come to Colne Area Committee, because only then would we be looking at, I don't know, a new oven for a kitchen or something like that.
All I'm saying to you is, you know, TikTok towards April, when all bets are off and the money goes back.
Thank you, Graham.
Yeah, good. Okay. Well, thank you very much, David, for coming. It's a pleasure to see you. I hope you can make it regularly. It really makes life so much better for us to be able to talk to you, even remotely like we are. So thank you.
Yeah. Perfect. Please send an invite to myself, and if I can make it, even if not all, we'll still come, because it helps. All this relationships. It helps everybody, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does.
Cheers, Dave.
Thank you, all the best, everybody.
Yeah.
Say hello to Leanne, the new sheriff of Oldwick. Good night.
Right.
So, following back on the agenda, we've come as far as planning appeals. One more has just recently come in. I hope you've seen that, councillors, that we had upheld our decision. Number 2 on the list. Anybody, anything to say? Any questions? Okay, item 7 then, enforcement action. Any questions or queries? On a roll, going to move on. Jane, did our speaker turn up for public question time?
No, Chairman.
No, okay, right. Nothing on enforcements, anybody?
Chair, could I just make a little comment?
Sure.
Yeah, I'm having a few emails about the Carry Wall development and the stone wall issues. Can Neil update us about that and whether the stones are going to be replaced and when? And
through you, Chairman, I think we had a response with Councillor Nixon last time, indicating that they were going to be replaced. Now, I haven't got a timescale for that, but literally an hour before this meeting, I have sent some plans to the new enforcement officer to get him to go and take some photographs, because thankfully we have now an enforcement officer, so that's a matter of relief for myself and I'm sure yourselves. But Councillor Nixon confirmed that the wall was going to go back, but obviously they're developing, so I don't have a specific timescale with that.
thank you.
Sorry, you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear, Councillor.
Thank you. I think Councillor Mann might be talking about different walls. I don't know, and I think it's actually on the other complaints enforcements after the press and public are removed. But I don't think it matters. The discussion we had last time was about the wall at the bottom mainly, where they've built a concrete retaining wall and the dry stone wall is to be replaced around that concrete wall, or I think that's what we understand. The more recent complaints, which I think date back a fair recent, 3 or 4 months, are about the wall down Carry Lane, which has been replaced by a wooden fence at the moment. So I'm told by the people complaining to me. I've got to say that I've not been to look at it. Yes. What am I looking at here? Has built. And
sorry, through you, Chairman, that's just the plan that I looked at earlier. That's what should be there, and that's what I've asked us to go and check. Those are the approved plans.
So the approved plans are for a wooden fence down Carry Lane, are they? And not for the... I am told by people who've looked at the original planning permission that it shows the wall down the side of the footpath that goes down the right-hand side of Carry Lane. It shows the wall there, and they're complaining that the fence has been put there. So what has actually been approved in the end?
Sorry, Chairman, I'm trying to get the plans up for you there, but the plans should show that it is a stone wall down there. It's not this is the approved plan, the cross section across the whole of Carry Lane, so you can see it's walling all along there.
I can't see any plans, Chair.
So apologies, Chairman, if the technology's...
I can't see them now, they've gone.
I'll put them back up, Chairman.
Yeah.
Can everyone see that?
Yeah, I can see that.
No, I can't. Don't matter, carry on.
You should see what's on my screen, Chairman, but it is a wall according to these plans here, and it says in here existing wall reduced, so it should be a wall there, and that's what obviously I will ask Mr. Manning to look at.
Right. So that's the development on the top side and the bottom side of the new road that goes in, the main road that goes in. Whatever it's going to be called, Carry Fields or something. Okay.
Yep.
Right. So that is the issue that I think we're raising now. Is that right, Alice, Councillor Mann? Yeah, she's nodding. Yeah. Okay.
Happy with that? Yeah, good. Anybody else got anything on that one? Okay, moving on, capital programme. Replacement basket swinging for Millennium Green. I don't have a capital bid, so I'm assuming this is just for allocation from the ward councillors' funds. Is that correct? Is that just to let the committee know about use of ward councillors' funds? Ward councillors don't seem very...
Is there any ward councillors here that can speak up?
I'm waiting for Councillor Mann to...
Sorry, I'm having problems with my with my phone. Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Yeah. Well, I am a trustee of the Millennium Green. However, as far as I knew, it was coming from the Pendle Council rather than our funds. They actually
it's just if you want to put a bid in, then the paperwork and that has to be submitted for it to be a bid. Whereas if you just want to split it between the three of you, you could transfer 400 quid each and the job's done. It's your choice.
I think we'd better go back and consider it.
But we need to understand this. We need a bid. It needs to be looked at. Is that right, Jane?
Yes, Chairman. If you look on the pink agenda sheet, it says details of the bid to follow. So it may be worthwhile waiting while the bid arrives before you make a decision on it. Then you'll know.
We've got the bid.
Got the bid.
Well, you've got the bid. So in which case?
Oh, okay, somebody's got it then. Who else has got the bid? Somebody?
Yes.
That's fine. There we are. So there it is.
From Kieran Roberts.
Yep, that's okay. So would somebody like to make a proposal?
I feel that this is a bit unfair. You know, in that I do feel what you said at first, Graham, which is it's a ward councillor issue. The Foxleys and I, we just did a thing at Ball Grove very recently for resurfacing. It didn't come near the main committee pot because we saw it as a Bullsworth issue. And this is sort of equivalent, but this is really an anomaly within Colne in that all the playgrounds are cared for by Colne Town Council. And it's almost like we're being charged twice because Pendle Council has devolved those to Colne Town Council, and then we've got this as well. So to me, it's an anomaly, and it's a bit unfair to come out of the central pot. I happily listen to what other people have to say.
Can I say something? It is an anomaly. It's a Councillor Clegg knows a lot more about it than I do, but and Councillor Mann, but it is an anomaly. There's no doubt about it, because it was provisionally, in my view anyway, transferred to Colne Town Council along with the, well, when I say provisionally, Pendle Council thought it was transferring it to Colne Town Council. I'm talking about Pendle Council now, not the Town Council. Councillor Clegg shaking his head. The problem is all to do with the Millennium Green, which is a very special thing, and the Millennium Greens are an anomaly really because they're just different from everything else, and the ownership of the land, and the ownership of the land that the playground stands on, and Pendle Council thought it was transferring the play area to Colne Town Council along with the rest. Colne Town Council said, no, you're not, because it's on the Millennium Green and therefore it's not our responsibility. And the Millennium Green Trust said, well, we can't take it over because we've no money, basically, because it's all part and parcel of the anomaly of Millennium Greens, that they were set up, that capital money was provided, that trusts were set up, but there was no provision made for ongoing income for the Millennium Green Trust to look after the Millennium Green. So they are begging about all the time for odd bits and pieces. And the maintenance of the Millennium Green is another anomaly, the grass cutting. As I understand it, that is done by Pendle Council out of the goodness of its heart, because if Pendle Council didn't do it, it would be an overgrown wilderness. So the whole thing is a mess. When the Millennium Green's not a mess, it was an excellent thing, but you can argue about it and talk about it forever, as I seem to have done over the last year or two with various town councillors and various trustees. And the Millennium Green has one view, the town council has another view. So what's happened is that Pendle Borough Council, again out of the goodness of their heart, because they provided the play area there in the first place, which was Section 106 money from some of the new housing at Knox Lane, some of the old new housing at Knox Lane. Pendle Borough Council have taken back the maintenance of the inspection and maintenance of this play area. And Philip Mosedale spent more time worrying about it and drawing up reports and all the rest of it than he would want to do. I don't know really what the final answer is, but a piece of equipment, what was always going to happen was that a small capital sum is required for a particular purpose when a particular piece of equipment is broken or needs repair. And that's what's happened now. And so that's the question of where this money comes from. I would say, well, I don't know that you've enough information in front of you to make a decision this evening. On the other hand, I strongly suspect that most of you don't want to know, because if you get involved in it, it will go on and on and on. And the decision that it would go back to Pendle, again, was a compromise just to make sure that this play area didn't get closed down and taken away. It's only a little one, but it's a small children's one, and it's really useful where it is, and it's really well used. But because it's on the Millennium Green, and the land belongs to the Millennium Green, it's more complicated than it could possibly think. I think the answer is that the money comes out of Pendle Central Resources. So I would move tonight that this committee, which hasn't got the resources, this committee refers it to the centre of Pendle and asks for this to be provided. And if that is turned down, then it'll have to be looked at again. But I would move that.
Right. I would like to second that. Okay, so we have a proposer and a seconder to kick it to policy and resources, I suppose, will be where it will end up. All those in favour, would you like to indicate if you're against, please? Either verbally or by hand. Anybody against? No? Okay, so we go along with that. All I would say, Councillor Greaves, is part of the rationale originally for giving councillors some individual thing is just to have some change in your pocket to take care of these sort of things. I mean, if it was £5,000 or £10,000, I could understand it. But for 12,000, if it was in Fulridge, you know, I'd have paid it out of my funds, and that would have been the end of it. You'd have never heard about it, which is why you were given the funds in the first place.
I agree with that, but the difference is that in Fulridge, you will be giving a grant to the parish council to do it, which I think is different. This, I think, is a central council facility. But we'll see what happens. But I mean, I agree in general.
Yeah, it's worth a try, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. Item 10, land fronting 6 to 22 Patton Street.
Oh.
I think this is you, Councillor Greaves, isn't it?
Well, it's and Councillor Mann as well. Chair, we have this is the same report we had before. It is nonsense. It would simply mean that the things were taken away because people can't afford this amount of money. I mean, this again it's a group of people who went onto the land without permission. They did a sort of Winstanley and the Diggers thing, if people know their Civil War history, and it requires a bespoke solution, I think. We, as ward councillors, said we'd try and sort it by this meeting now, but it has actually proved impossible to do because of all the COVID thing. It needs the people concerned, the group of residents, or at least the 3 or 4 of them who are doing it, who are in charge of it really, who are organising it, and councillors and the odd council officer to sit round a table and just sort it out what the best way forward is. And we simply haven't been able to organise that kind of meeting. And even organising a meeting with residents and trying to do it through Zoom or Teams or whatever in that sort of area is not, well, it's impossible because most people only have lesser devices. So I mean, it is not satisfactory. We have not done what we've said we would do. It's all due to COVID and the fact that when we said we'd do it, it just got worse and worse as time has gone on. And now we're in a lockdown. So I would move that we defer this item until the COVID emergency or crisis abates or improves to a sufficient level that we can actually get a proper meeting together. I can't see any alternative, really.
I was going to say the last meeting of this municipal year, and let's see where we are. I think we're not going to be that much further on, to be perfectly honest.
I agree.
It might be better to just say it'll be revisited in 6 months' time, whatever the arrangements are for Colne area or whatever. Is that the way to do it, Steve?
I think it is, yeah. Or, I mean, 6 months, or when it becomes possible with COVID emergency, yes.
Chairman, I'll second that.
Yeah. Okay. Anybody against that? That's fine. Reopening of Colne Town centres. I don't know whether anybody has any further reports on that or information.
Just that they're continuing with trying to get the small businesses online so that they have a digital presence, and obviously continuing with the portal which allows Come to Colne to represent the high street. So it's ongoing work. There are further ideas, but the next meeting of the Colne bid is the 12th of January.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody else? Councillor Mann?
I just was wondering, I know that this committee gave, I think it was £10,000 to the bid, and I just wondered what had happened to that, or is there any information on that coming later?
Yes, they sent a spreadsheet before Christmas of where they were up to in the expenditure to Lynn. So I'm guessing that is something perhaps hasn't been shared with the rest of you, but it could easily be shared with the rest of you.
I thought it was in the papers last month, or am I getting confused? Yeah, I've certainly seen something anyway. Yeah, I mean, I think if I remember correctly, the motion that we did, we gave them the facility of having £10,000 that they could draw down, but they had to have a reason to spend it. I think that's pretty much how we worded it, so that they could spend up to 10 as they needed to. So if they don't spend it all, it's still our money. We haven't given it to them, I think was the point. Good. Mr. Watson.
Chairman, thank you. That's Pendle Council money, so that will be dealt with directly through Pendle. Chairman, we have the ERDF funding that we want to spend as well, and we had it confirmed, unfortunately, that the bid cannot spend that money directly. It's got to come through Pendle. They're not a body that the ERDF will allow to be a partner. So we've conveyed that information to the bid. Chairman, it's just as with all the other committees, we haven't spent that money, and we have to spend that. And there are procurement rules, particularly with the ERDF, with about how you procure, how you advertise, etc., etc. So it's just a note that we need to make sure that we do spend that allocation by March, or otherwise it will go. But I know Mike Williams is liaising with the chairman of the bid to make sure that there is a programme for spend, which will then have to come through Pendle to be formally drawn down.
Sarah, did you want to add anything to that?
I really just wanted to agree. It was unfortunate, was this, because the bid had spent some of the ERDF money. So, so in essence, that's come out of the bid's pot. And really, the ideas of the future programme of the bid, we're better off than other area committees because we have a body that's focused on business. So some of their future ideas, they will perhaps punt to Mike Williams and Hassan for them to spend, and the bid don't spend that money. So it's the same as makes no difference. Hopefully that's how it'll work. And it won't matter that the bid spent the ERDF money and paid for it itself. That's past. And this is the future.
But provided it doesn't end up going back to government, it doesn't matter, does it really? As long as it gets used, effectively, I'll add to that.
Well, Chairman, the restrictions are very tight. West Craven, obviously we're dealing with the 5 different area committees, wanted some marquees to put up to make it easier to socially distance, etc. We put that through to our liaison officer at communities, and that was said you can't spend on that. So it is hard actually to spend that money on the limited amount of things you can spend it on. So that's why I'm saying we need to work hard between us to try and spend the money in the best way we can for each town in Pendle.
Okay. Anybody else? Any other? Moving on then, so we're up to item 11, environmental blight. Any comments? Outstanding items are as in the agenda, and next up is the exclusion of the public and press for a briefing on outstanding enforcement and problem sites. So Jane, could you let me know when we're disconnected, please?
Yes, Chairman. Could I just ask, does everybody agree to that first, please?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.